Yo, what is up, everybody? It's Apple E coming back with another House of the Dragon / Game of Thrones video. And guys, I am so hyped to be doing this video today. I've been planning to do this video for so long, and the day is finally here. I just finished up on season 1 of House of the Dragon, and man, it started off hot. But did it start off hotter than the OG Game of Thrones? Well, let's find out in this video. As always, guys, like, comment, subscribe if you want to. I'm not going to tell you what to do. Let's hop into this video. Now, in this video, we're going to do a deep dive into what made Game of Thrones and House of the Dragon so good. We're going to be talking characters, episodes, twists, cinematography, and of course, deaths. I did a who had the best first episode video. I'm going to leave the link down below. In that video, I went over my overall thoughts on the episode and Game of Thrones first episode. But let's hop into this video, and the first area I want to talk about is the technical part of shooting and making a TV show, the cinematography. Let's go back into time to the first time we saw Game of Thrones episode 1. I know Game of Thrones didn't start out with a nearly, and I mean nearly, as much of a big budget of House of Dragon, but it played into their favor in my opinion. All of season 1 and really the whole show gave off this dirty, grimy vibe that played into the realism of the show. And since there were dramatic irony, meaning the viewers knew about the magical aspect of the show while most of the characters did not, it made it seem like it wasn't too much different than the old medieval times. The appearance of White Walkers in episode 1 and the dragons in episode 10 were the two main CGI moments in the first season. And like I said before, them not having the biggest of budget made these events, in my opinion, feel more realistic. And also with CGI, the costume design in season 1 of Game of Thrones wasn't anything crazy because of the budget. But I would have liked to seen a little more done with the higher ups, such as the lords and ladies of the kingdom, such as they did in the later seasons of Game of Thrones. Now, in the first season of House of the Dragon, they did start out with a big budget, so we got to see some cool ass CGI costumes and effects. We got to see a lot of cool dragon scenes, such as Vhagar burning the previous owner Lena.
Dracarys! Dracarys!
And we also got Vhagar again, killing the Prince Lucerys Velaryon. Along with CGI and special effects, the costumes and attention to details were amazing. I absolutely loved the gowns and armor they had in the royal family war. And even in episode 9, when they left the royal keep to find King Aegon, the common folk clothes and environment was spot on. It's really hard to determine who had a better cinematography. But if I had to rate it, I'll probably lean more towards House of the Dragon. Now, let's talk about writing and storytelling. Firstly, let's talk about the elephant in the room and what people found to be annoying, all the time jumps and pacing in House of the Dragon. Well, yes, the pacing and storyline moved a bit faster in House of the Dragon than the original Game of Thrones, and honestly, didn't hate it as much as people did. Yes, 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 the character development was off in some characters, but I think it was much needed to get to the main story of the Dance of the Dragon. Now, as storyline goes, I thought they did a great job with each episode. Each episode had an impact on the story and made it progress along the way. Now, I'm going to be doing a ranking video along with my overall thoughts on season 1 in videos to come, so be on the lookout for that. But as each episode goes, I think most of them help progress it. Now, as writing goes, House of Dragon had much more difficult tasks to face. Unlike Game of Thrones, Season 1 of House of the Dragon wasn't just based off the books. They had to fill in the gaps, the holes along with the way, along with adding new details, making changes to the story, which I really thought they did an amazing job. Unlike later seasons of Game of Thrones, they worked with George, which really helped them in any key decisions that weren't in the book, or things to even change around, such as Corlys being alive. Now, along with the writing, I would like to talk about the twists and key moments, and how they were shot. I won't go episode by episode, but just the key moments in the season, such as the fighting and the stepstones with Daemon. I loved how it was no talking, just action, and the music was just playing in the background. We didn't know what was going on. We couldn't really see inside Daemon's head because we just saw his actions. And I loved that. And I also loved how they left him killing the crab feeder up to the audience imagination. Because the crab feeder wasn't really known as this, great warrior. He was just this military kind of mastermind. He's kind of like a general, kind of like a Tywin. Like, he didn't know how to actually fight, so it wouldn't be like a good fight to even watch. But one of the biggest twists is when they didn't kill off Laenor, but sent him free to be with his lover across the sea. Which I was in shock, and I did not see coming, because apparently in the books, which I didn't read, but in the books they had him killing off. Him and Corlys, they both had him dying in the books, so I'm glad they didn't kill either of them. Now, talk about Game of Thrones. They started off a little bit in a slower pace, more in a day-to-day, and since they have so many characters, they spent the first season introducing them and setting them up to the main conflict. But rather than House of the Dragon, Game of Thrones has multiple storylines, so I think spending a slower time introducing each character played into their benefit in the long run. We don't know if focusing more on the timeline will hurt or help House of the Dragon in the future, but we do know, at least for the first couple seasons of Game of Thrones, it really benefited. As twist goes, there was none bigger than Eddard Stark dying.
And my lady Sansa has begged mercy for her father. But they've the soft hearts of women. So long as I am your king, treason shall never go unpunished. Sir Ilyn, bring me his head. Stop him!
Ned Stark was basically the main character in the first season, and for him to die in the way that he did, the first I've ever seen in any show, and honestly, it was amazing and refreshing to see. I always say how Game of Thrones can make the worst destruction, worst breaking moments look beautiful in picture, and this was one of them. The way they shot his head just flopping on the ground, and then it cuts to Arya looking in disbelief, and then Sansa just faints. Like, it was awful, it was heartbreaking, but it was very well put together, very well written, and very well shot. And it also was refreshing to see that, like, anybody could die in the show, because I'm used to watching shows and movies that the main character just, lives on happily ever after. But no, not in Game of Thrones. Now, as writing goes, they had legit the blueprints. They had George helping out and everything in the book. So, as season 1 of Game of Thrones goes, it was written perfectly. Did you enjoy the faster pace in House of the Dragon, or a more slower pace in the Game of Thrones? Let me know down below. In my opinion, I think we need to see a little bit more of House of the Dragon to see how season one did for the whole story. But if we're just comparing the two, just season one to season one, and not how they set up the rest of the show, I enjoy House of the Dragon more. Before we get into the amazing characters, let me know what team you're on down below, black or green, and also let me know your favorite character of House of the Dragon. Me personally, it's either Daemon or Rhaenys. But I also love King Viserys, but he's dead now. But I think he was my favorite character in season one. Let me know down below yours. But now let's talk about these amazing characters. Starting out with House of the Dragon. Talking about development wise, I think somewhere done beautiful, such as the main characters like Alicent Hightower, Rhaenyra, Viserys, Daemon. But I think since the storyline moved so fast, they not only could have spent a little more time developing these characters, they could have developed others. Especially Lena and Sir Harmer Strong. They should have developed these characters to make their deaths have a little more impact on the viewers. And I think that's the biggest flaw people have with the show. The aging of characters and the lack of development and the pace. Which I can totally see. I would have liked a little more of Lena and Harwin. Like some people, including my girlfriend, didn't even know who Sir Harwin was. I would have enjoyed a couple more episodes that included them. But I get what they were trying to do. I get what they're trying to do. They're trying to just get to the Dance of the Dragon, get to the main story. And even the books didn't have too much about these characters. But I really think they could have added in a little more depth to these characters. Now, I really don't have any complaints when it comes to the characters of Game of Thrones. Game of Thrones was notorious for having some of the best, and I mean absolutely best, character arcs, developments, and twists. So much was going on in the first season of Game of Thrones. Each character was getting set on their own path. We have Jon going to the wall, Robb going to war, Arya trying to escape King's Landing, and Dany having to come into possession with dragons. Each one of these characters were set up perfectly for things to come. I really have nothing bad to say. The way they presented each character was amazing. I love how they gave each character their own separate screen time. And this was because most of them are on their own path, which made for amazing character arc and development. Now, who do you think had the better set of characters? And me, in my personal opinion, I think Game of Thrones characters can't be beat. Now, let's answer the questions of all questions. Which season did you enjoy more, and why? Let me know down below. Now, we're just going to be comparing season 1 by themselves. We're not going to be talking about how Game of Thrones season 1 led up to other events in Game of Thrones. We're just talking season 1 of Game of Thrones, season 1 of House of the Dragon. Which one do you like more? And in my personal opinion, I liked House of the Dragon more. Thank you guys so much for watching.